Hello, my name's Jez, and this is my talk on an introduction to game development, where I give some helpful tips and tricks to enable you to start creating with your code a bit better, but also if you're just starting out, how to gain the confidence you need to push forward on your journey into game development. So let's begin. So who am I? I'm Jez Whitworth. Hello. And by day, I'm a teacher. And also, I run a business that supplies and offers after school and weekend creative coding classes where we get pupils from primary schools and secondary schools all the way through to GCSE. And we get them creating and making and learning as we go along. By night, I'm an independent developer myself, and I code anything from apps to games, all the way through to electronics and robotics. They all have their roots in the points we're going to cover today. So whatever avenue you want to take, this talk will be very, very useful to start your journey. So let's begin. I had a bit of trouble sourcing together some points for you, but I've managed it, and it's difficult to put them in order because all the points we're going to cover in this class today are equally as important, but I had to put them in some sort of order. So in at number 5 is don't be afraid to make mistakes. Now this is really important because I think this number 5 point puts a lot of people off, myself included. The main reason is we live in this social age where social media is this really big thing at the minute, isn't it? Where we get to show off what we've made and create and get feedback and interact with others. But what we're failing to realize is that we are only seeing part of the picture. We're only seeing other people's polished products. And we think, I can't possibly make something like that. I'm struggling with this simple task, and they're way ahead, producing these really, really high-end products and games. But what we don't realize is that everybody starts off at the same position. Everybody has to start somewhere, and everybody guaranteed is facing the same problems you are. So don't let that put you off. It puts me off, it puts a lot of people I know off, but please don't let it put you off. Keep striving, take the good points from what you're seeing and factor it into your own projects. Don't be afraid to try out new ideas either. There is inspiration everywhere, and we'll cover that in a second. But it's only when we step outside of our comfort zone do we actually learn something. By experimenting with a different process or a different method, only then do we actually learn from our mistakes. Sometimes they might work out, sometimes they don't. But a project is never a wasted project. There's always something to take away from it. If you're a bit nervous about the artwork, for example, maybe you're more into mathematics and the logical side of programming, and you want to get into game development, but your art skills aren't at a level that you feel comfortable with, not a problem. There's always assets out there to help you. There are free assets to download, or ones that require just a little bit of money in order to download them, but there'll be something out there that'll help you, whether it's downloading a character sprite, landscape images, or whatever. There'll be something out there that you can source to help you overcome that little fear, that little doubt that you might have. But if there's one really important thing you need to take away from this section, is that whatever you make, you don't have to make something that's perfect. The important thing to remember is you just have to make it. You just have to take that step and make it. Number 4, start by learning the basics. This is probably the most difficult point out of this in this class. Start by learning the basics. Yeah, we're seeing these top end developers, and they're showing off what they've created. But you must remember, it's taken them a long time to get there, a long time. So the important thing to remember here is take your time. There's no point in rushing. If we rush, we'll never learn. We'll never learn along our journey. And I would recommend starting with the basics, building little projects around different coding concepts. So learn how if statements work, learn how loops and variables work, and how you can control different aspects of your game. If you're struggling with choosing a language to start with, try Scratch. I love Scratch. Scratch is brilliant, and it gets a really bad press because most people only use it during primary or infant school, and because it's colorful and because it's blocky, people automatically assume it's just for young children. It's not. It's absolutely not. And it's a great place to start learning about coding. It'll not only teach you the important concepts, but it'll start to open up different avenues for you to explore. Did you know you can make your Scratch projects standalone, so you can distribute your games without having to reveal that you made it in Scratch? We'll cover that in a minute. You can also make mobile apps using Scratch. And you can also control electronics, so lights and motors and other things in the real world. You can use Scratch, but that is a whole new class in itself. But the point I'm trying to make is it's not just for kids. If you really want to learn the basic concepts and get creative in a fun and easy to follow process, then give Scratch a go. Taking our time will help us build a good foundation, and this is really important. Build a good foundation, and then once you grasp the basics, then all sorts of doors start to open and you can explore all these different exciting avenues. On your journey, you'll meet others, or you'll see other people's projects, and they might have been kind enough to share how they did it, which is brilliant. Everybody loves to know how something was made, but don't think, oh, that would work really well in my project. I'm just going to copy and paste it in. And that's great. For 5 minutes, you have your project with this really nice feature. But in terms of our learning journey, it doesn't accomplish much. So don't be a copy and paster. Learn how someone managed to overcome that problem. It's probably the same problem that you're having. Learn how they did it and factor it into your project, building the solution from the very beginning and not copy and pasting it into your existing project. Okay, number 3. Number 3 is always enjoy yourself. This is all about having fun, a lot of fun. And I get a great deal of enjoyment from coding and the things that I make. And there's no reason why you shouldn't too. Okay, the end goal is we'd all like to have that top end developer's job at the end. But I know it sounds cheesy, but it's all about the journey, not necessarily about the destination. It's all about enjoying what we do. And there are a number of ways that we can get creative and get more enjoyment from this hobby of ours. Okay. Rule number 1 is don't force creativity. It's not going to happen just by sitting down, right, I'm going to develop a game today. It's not going to happen. Trust me. My brain, if it's anything like yours, will just refuse to work. So I'm not working under pressure. You seek inspiration from all around you every day. Even the most boring things like, I don't know, going to the supermarket, maybe. There's inspiration and ideas to be taken from anywhere. And with that in mind, I'd recommend keeping a good old-fashioned notebook. Keep a notebook and just fill it with stuff. Some ideas, okay, it might not come to anything. Other ideas might lead on to bigger and better things, but it's important to keep a record of your thought process. Because if you're like me, I can't remember what I had for breakfast, let alone a game idea I had last month. Keep it in your notebook, and trust me, this will be so invaluable later on. But if you're still stuck for ideas, there are a couple of ways in which we can get creative and start to source some ideas for our projects. If you're really stuck and you're just keen to learn and get started learning the basics in coding, try and build something that already exists. I always advise my pupils, if they're stuck for something to do, try and build Tetris. Look at each individual element of the game, plan it out on good old-fashioned paper, look at how each element interacts, and start building it up from the ground up. Another good way, and what I want to spend a few more minutes talking about, are game jams. Now, game jams are very, very short lasting challenges. Some are weekly, some are fortnightly. You might get the odd month-long one, but they're designed to give you a really tight deadline in order to force you to quickly prototype an idea and see how you get on. I love game jams. I can't remember how I stumbled upon them. I think someone told me about them, but they are hugely enjoyable for a number of reasons we'll cover in a second. And I'm just going to pass on my experiences by participating in game jams. And hopefully it encourages you to do the same. So weekly game jams, there are sites all over the internet that lay down a challenge every week or fortnight. And it's that theme that you have to take, and then you sort of plan, build, and then show off the game that you make. My favorite is the weeklygamejam.com, okay, which we'll take a look at in a minute. The competition runs from a Friday to Friday, and during that time you have to take the theme, build a game concept around it, and then submit it just to show it off. Sometimes they run proper competitions once a month, but if you're just starting out, I would just get used to building and prototyping in a short space of time and submitting. I enter my game jams using my Scratch games that I make. Okay, because I find Scratch incredibly useful in prototyping ideas, and I can quickly assemble something that looks quite nice in that short space of time. And I'm submitting and competing in these competitions against top-end developers. And the way I do that is that I first build my game in Scratch, as does everybody on the Scratch website. But then I'm able to convert it into a standalone game. It converts it into a HTML version of the game, so it just runs in any browser or on any tablet or mobile device. It's brilliant. And there are a couple of ways you can do this, but the most popular website I found is the one on screen at the minute, the sheeptester.github.io one. And I'll leave these on screen for a minute or two so you can write them down. But that website allows you to convert your your Scratch project into a standalone game that you can then distribute or submit to competitions and the like, and nobody would be none the wiser what you built it in. It doesn't really matter. The main thing is it's the idea and the concept behind it. No one, to a certain extent, no one really matters what you built it in. Okay, people see through all that and they'll home in on your good idea and your thought process. Okay, it's a really good thing to do, and entering game jams has just been hugely beneficial to me. Right, I'll show you. Let's visit the the Game Jam website. Bear with me a second. So if I stop sharing for a second and reshare my Game Jam screen. So here we are. Okay, so it looks like this week it's Catapult. So this is the theme. So we take that Catapult theme. It updates every Friday, don't forget. So we take that. Okay, so normally I spend a day or two trying to plan it out again in the good old-fashioned notebook. And then once I have the idea, I start building a prototype. And by Wednesday and Thursday, I start to then add in the artwork and assets to make it look pretty. And by Thursday, I then submit it. Obviously, the quicker you submit it during that week, the more views you're going to get. And this is a brilliant way of getting your game out there. Not many people tell you that, building the game is the easy part. Distributing it, getting it noticed, getting it in front of as many people as possible, that's the really difficult bit. That is so hard to do. And game jams are a brilliant way of submitting and getting your game in front of so many people really quickly. It's a great way. And if you write a little really good description and how they can view your other pieces of work, they'll just follow the breadcrumbs. They'll follow the breadcrumbs to your website and portfolio, and bingo, you've got your audience. So game jams are a great way of forcing you to prototype ideas, work to a strict deadline, but also allow you to distribute and get your game and your portfolio in front of so many eyeballs. And that is just, it's worth its weight in gold. So the weeklygamejam.com, I would recommend giving it a go. And every game jam entry that I've done, I have saved it. So here's my website. Okay, I've saved it. And these are all the games that I've done for game jams. And boom, look, my online portfolio is growing. Okay, and you'll be surprised at how quickly your portfolio grows. Some might view starting a portfolio as like, where do I start? What do I do? Well, enter a game jam, bingo, you've instantly got your first project to display in your portfolio. And then do the next one the following week. And there you have it. You've got two. And before long, you have so many different varieties of projects to show off in your portfolio. And because they're self-contained games, we don't need to touch the Scratch website to show them off. I mean, when I click on one, for example, there we go. I've got my Taco Cat one and it's running in the browser. You cannot tell that that was built in Scratch. So I would recommend giving game jams a go. That they tick so many boxes and they're just a great thing and fun thing to participate and enjoy. Right, I'm going to try and reshare my PowerPoint screen, so bear with me. Here we go, fingers crossed. Yes, I'm there. Okay. But the important thing about game jams is just enter. If nobody entered them, these game jams, these challenges, they wouldn't exist because if nobody enters, they're pointless, aren't they? So give them a go. You'll be very surprised. Well, I was anyway, at how warm and welcoming and friendly the community is. There are people there who understand where you're coming from. They understand that you're probably just starting out and they will come to your aid and they will help you and encourage you. And that is just, it's just lovely, basically. You know, it's such a nice community. So get stuck in. One second. There we go. Okay, so we're down to number 2 now, and that is don't be afraid to ask. And it's sort of, don't be afraid to ask for help. And it sort of follows on from my previous point of game jams. The community is so welcoming and so helpful that there are people there who understand the problems that you're facing, and they will come and help you if you ask for help. There are a few ways in which you can ask for help. The main one is in the forums. There's lots of online forums, but if you're just starting out, you could get lost in those forums unless you know exactly what you're asking for. So if you know your problem inside and out that you've got with your code, and you're able to ask a very precise question, then the forums are there will be of huge benefit for you. What I found as well, friends, just call on friends. You might have met new friends through game jams. You might have your friends from your class or school who are also trying to develop and get into game dev. So talk with them. You know, they're not competition. We're all in this together, aren't we? We're all in this community, helping one another out and progressing and improving together. So yeah, chat to your friends. They might have come across the same problem. They might have solved the problem as well. And teachers as well. As you probably begin to realize, coding there's a lot of crossover between different subjects. So not only ask your computing or ICT teacher for help, you know, you could ask your maths teacher, because there's a lot of maths crossover with coding. And also the art side as well. Get your art teacher involved. If you've got an art assets problem, how to do a bit of pixel art or something to do with Photoshop that you're struggling with, get the artist involved as well. It's always nice to view a problem from a different angle, because that's when different and creative solutions start to form. And then once you're more experienced and you've got this problem and you've worked out how to solve it, guaranteed you're not going to be the only one with that problem who had that problem. So share that solution. It's always nice, well, from personal experience, it's always nice to give back to the community that I got so much out of when I was starting. So yeah, get involved as well. Get contributing your own ideas and tips, and go into those forums and seek out people who need help. And if you can help them, then by all means drop them a little note with a bit of guidance or a tip or trick or something. But yeah, get involved. Don't be scared to get involved. The community is very welcoming and very friendly indeed. Right. Wow, we've made number one. So number one is the most difficult of all. Always finish your projects. If I was to turn this camera around, you would see, oh crikey, you would see so many half-finished, incomplete projects. It's all too tempting that we write down an idea, we start to build it, and then it's the hard work comes in and it gets a bit trudgy and gets a bit of a chore, and then I've got another great idea for a game. Okay, what I'll do, I'll park this first one, I'll come back to that later, and I'll start planning another one, building another one, and the cycle just keeps going. Because I can tell you now, that project that you parked to one side with the intention of coming back to later, you never will. You never will, guaranteed. So before you move on to the next great idea, finish the one you're working on. Trust me, it'll not, once you've finished that project and you've taken a project from start to finish, you'll have a real sense of achievement, trust me. And that will be a huge confidence boost, because you're most likely working on your own at your desk in the office or in your bedroom, not interacting with people, but by completing a project, it'll give you that confidence boost, you know, that you need. So you're sort of, you know, encouraging yourself to keep going. It'll also help you understand the process from the very start to the very end, and everything else in between. So you have a full understanding of the whole development process from beginning to end. And that is really important, actually, especially when it comes to, you might have projects later on that involve you keeping and planning your time in a really organized manner. And you can't do that unless you have a full understanding of the whole process. So finish the projects that you start. And the only thing left for me to say now is a huge thank you for your time. Okay, I hope you've taken away some good points from this talk, but I just wanted to summarize what we went through on the previous slides. So in at number 5, we had don't be afraid to make mistakes. Number 4, we had start by learning the basics, take your time. Okay. Number 3, always enjoy yourself. It's all about having fun. Number 2, Get involved with the community. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And if you're in a position where you can help somebody, give them that leg up, give them that helping hand. And number one, always finish your projects. And now I'm going to finish this project. So I hope you've come away with some really good points. My name's Jez, and good luck in whatever you create. Take care now. Bye-bye.